Can an heir buy the house from an estate? Hey guys, it's Brad from probateresource.com. So at Probate Resource, we're a real estate solutions company specializing in the world of probate and inheritance properties. Can an heir buy the house from an estate? Work of real estate agents throughout the country. So today I want to talk about a question that actually comes up from time to time, which is, can an heir buy the house from the estate? And the answer is absolutely yes, but there's some caveats that you need to take into account. More times than not, we have run into an estate situation we've been working with where one of the siblings or the heirs or whomever wants to buy the house and continue to live in it or whatever. But you need to make sure that you're taking a few things into account. For one, obviously, if there are other heirs involved, let's say you were trying to buy the house. If you're trying to get a super sweetheart deal out of this estate, you got to understand that from a monetary standpoint, you might be shortchanging your siblings or the other heirs. You needed to keep that in mind, okay? And that's not to say that you can't get a really good deal on a house, but you have to understand that all of the other heirs need to be on board with this transaction. And if the other heirs are on board with this transaction, then you could absolutely make an offer to the estate. And what you could do is, let's say you have a 25% share of the estate. You're going to want to probably get an appraisal on the house and figure out what the house would likely sell for on the market. You can either get an appraisal, reach out to a real estate agent and get what's called a BPO or a broker's price opinion on the property. Understand that if you're reaching out to an agent or a broker, they're likely going to want to see some sort of compensation, whether that's through you paying them a fee directly to run a BPO for them, or they're going to have some expectation that they're going to get a listing out of you or some sort of commission in the future because they don't want to work for free, right? You're going to need to get some sort of idea as to what the value of that property might be on the open market, and then you can sort of calculate what your share of the estate might be. So let's say, like I mentioned, you're entitled to 25%. So figure out what the proceeds would be at the end of the sale. And if you wanted to knock 25% off of that price, you could buy it for that price. And basically you're taking your share of the estate out of those numbers. And in which case at closing, the other heirs of the estate would get their 75%, which is, your 25%, whatever's left over after your 25% is taken out. You could absolutely do that. So make sure that you're probably going to want to get an appraisal. More than likely, an appraisal is probably going to cost you anywhere from $400 to $500 is what appraisals run nowadays. Reach out to any residential appraiser. They could run an appraisal for you. Or like I mentioned, you could get a BPO from an agent, and they'll basically, it's not called an official appraisal because they're not a licensed appraiser, but they can give you kind of their opinion as to what that house might sell for on the open market, in which case you could use that. Also, thing you want to keep in mind is that if the estate has any creditors and there are any debts owed on the estate, you're definitely going to want to make sure that those creditors are getting paid before you or the other heirs, because a creditor could sue the executor of the estate, the administrator of the estate, if they feel like, they were not reimbursed or not paid back the money that's owed to them, and you sort of took a sweetheart deal, sold the house to yourself for under market value, and then now all of a sudden the creditor's getting shortchanged and they're going to come after you. So keep that in mind. And all of these things I'm telling you, it would probably be best for you to consult with a probate attorney or a real estate attorney before you venture too far down this path. But I'm just merely speaking here from just sort of experience in doing a number of probate deals over the years, that generally these are the things you want to think about during the process. It's not necessarily all the things to think about, but these are some of the things that you want to think about. So you want to make sure that you're factoring all that into play. And then obviously, all of this should be in writing, right? Never assume that any of the other heirs in the estate are okay with this unless they've explicitly told you they're okay with it, and make sure you get it in writing. Because I can't tell you how many times we have dealt with an estate where there was some verbal understanding, or so they thought there was a verbal understanding, And when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, and that transaction is underway, one of the siblings might say, they might change their mind, or maybe there was a misunderstanding as to the terms of the agreement, and all of a sudden it's creating a big uproar within the family or within the estate. that, hey, such and such, is buying this house and I didn't agree to this and da-da-da. So before you go down that path, you need to make sure that you are getting everything in writing from all of the other heirs to the estate, that they understand that you are making an offer, and you need to make an offer to the estate. You need to put this in writing. I would put it in a purchase and sale agreement, whether you go and find one online, or you maybe get a real estate agent, a friend, or somebody you know to put it on maybe one of the state-approved contracts. Make sure it's all official, and you definitely, for sure, need to run this transaction through a proper title company or a real estate attorney, depending on if you're an attorney state. You want this transaction to be processed through the proper means. Do not just do a quick claim deed from, the estate to yourself or whoever, because more times than not, we've seen it so many times, it's done wrong. It creates title issues down the road. We have to unwind those title issues. Are going to have to be unwound further down the road. So please spend the money. Make sure you're getting a warranty deed on the transaction. That means that, a proper title company or a real estate attorney is processing it, and they're issuing title insurance. So when there's a warranty deed, that means there's typically insurable title. They're insuring the title against defects. That means they've reviewed all the facts and they say, yes, this is a clean transaction. The chain of title is not going to be messed up. This is good to go. So make sure that you're doing that and doing it through the proper means. If you're getting a mortgage on the property to buy it, you probably want to talk to your lender about the guidelines of this transaction and whether or not this is considered an arm's length transaction. I'm not going to get into arm's length in this video. You can Google what is an arm's length transaction. Make sure that you're talking to your lender before you go too far down this path, because they might say, no, we don't feel comfortable with this because of XYZ. So you want to make sure that you are doing that appropriately for your lender, because they might not fund the deal, right? Maybe you got cash and that's great. Hope you have cash, but most people are getting a mortgage on the property. So make sure that you are running that through your lender also. If you're on the flip side of this transaction and you are one of the other heirs and one of the heirs wants to buy this property out, like I mentioned before, make sure that everything is in writing. Make sure that there is a proper appraisal or BPO being done of the estate so that the other heirs are not being shortchanged. And if you have an heir that is wanting to purchase the property, you need to make sure that they're a qualified buyer. I can't tell you how many times that, Johnny, the brother, said that he's going to buy the house. Johnny doesn't have any money. He's not buying the house, and he can't qualify for a mortgage. Oh, well, we gave him some time to get a mortgage, and Johnny just kicked the can down the road, and just drug it out over time. And here they are a year and a half later, and the sale has not occurred yet. And the estate is pissed off at Johnny because Johnny said he's going to buy the house, but Johnny never had the means to buy the house in the first place. And then now Johnny feels like he's been slighted by his brothers and sisters because he really wanted to buy this house, but the reality is he couldn't buy the house. And now all of a sudden, the brothers and sisters are selling the house, and Johnny feels like he didn't, get the right to buy the house, but really he did. He just drug his feet and he didn't do things properly. So I hope this helps you if you're dealing with an estate where one of the heirs wants to buy the property in the estate. It does happen quite frequently, but like I mentioned, make sure you're following all the guidelines that I mentioned. Make sure you consult a real estate attorney or probate attorney about the situation before you go too far down this path. And if you need a referral to a real estate attorney or a probate attorney, we've got a fantastic network of attorneys that we work with on a regular basis. We'd be happy to refer you to one of those attorneys. So please don't hesitate to reach out. If you I don't know why you might be watching this and maybe you just want to sell this house, we'd be happy to make you a cash offer on the house to buy the house. Or if you want to go the traditional route and list the house with an agent, either myself or someone in my network of real estate agents that I work with on a regular basis, we'll be happy to list that property for you on the open market. So thanks again for checking out this video. Again, I'm Brad with probateresource.com. You can click on the link. It'll take you to our website. And I appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.